There will come a time when you'll look around and realize no one is coming to save you. No one's checking on your progress, no one's clapping for your effort, and no one's holding your hand through the storm. And that's when you'll finally understand. This is where your real strength begins. Most people stop when they lose support, but the strongest keep moving when no one is watching. When the world goes silent, the disciplined build themselves in that silence. They don't wait for validation. They don't wait for help. They create their own momentum. The truth is, the road to success was never meant to be crowded. The climb is lonely because greatness doesn't need company. It needs commitment. Every step you take alone sharpens you. Every time you keep going without applause, you're teaching your mind one lesson: I can rely on me. So if no one believes in you, good. Let that silence be your training ground, because the day you learn to move forward alone, that's the day you'll never be stopped again. Chapter 1. Alone is where strength is born. There's a kind of silence you only meet when you walk alone, the kind that strips away every illusion of comfort. It's raw, uncomfortable, and painfully honest. But in that silence, something extraordinary begins, the sound of your own potential. Most people never hear it because they never stand still long enough to face themselves. Strength doesn't grow where it's easy. It grows where you're forced to confront your weakness without witnesses. When there's no one left to impress, the only person left to prove something to is you. That's where transformation begins. In the quiet corners where no applause can reach you. Alone is not empty. It's concentrated power. Every great comeback, every breakthrough, every moment of rebirth began with solitude. The difference between those who rise and those who fall isn't luck. It's how they use the silence when no one is watching. The strongest people aren't born fearless. They're built in isolation. When the world goes quiet, the mind gets loud. You'll hear doubt. You'll hear fear. But beneath it all, you'll hear truth. The voice that says, you've got more inside you than they'll ever see. People run from solitude because it feels like rejection. But solitude isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's the furnace where resilience is forged. Every moment alone is shaping you into someone who no longer depends on the world to feel worthy. There's freedom in being unseen. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop wasting energy trying to be understood by people who don't even understand themselves. That's when you start creating from authenticity, not approval. Alone is the classroom of greatness. It's where you study your habits, your fears, your limits, and decide what deserves to stay. You learn discipline without direction, motivation without an audience, consistency without recognition. That's where inner strength is born. You'll realize that no one owes you understanding. The world doesn't stop because you're struggling. And that realization will either break you or build you into something unshakable. Most quit there, but you won't, because that's where your real identity starts to form. When you stop needing company to move forward, you become dangerous, not in arrogance, but in independence, because you've learned the hardest skill of all, how to move without validation, how to walk through darkness without waiting for a light. People who can't walk alone stay stuck in crowds that move nowhere. But when you learn to walk your own path, you move faster, clearer, deeper. Solitude sharpens direction. It cuts through confusion like a blade. It's easy to be confident when surrounded by cheerleaders. Real confidence is standing in silence and still believing you can win. The world doesn't owe you reassurance. The mirror does. Look at it and remind yourself, I've got me. The truth is, no one truly understands your path. Not your family, not your friends, not your mentors. And that's okay. They weren't meant to. Your journey is coded specifically for you. That loneliness isn't rejection. It's divine personalization. In solitude, your priorities rearrange themselves. You stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. You stop asking, "Do they believe in me?" and start asking, "Do I believe in what I'm building?" That's when purpose becomes pure. When you're alone, life tests you differently. There's no one to blame, no one to lean on, no one to distract you. It's just you, raw, unfiltered, and accountable. And that accountability becomes the foundation of unbreakable self-trust. Every hour you spend alone, building, learning, failing, repeating, those are the invisible hours that compound into greatness. The world won't notice now, but it will later. And when they do, they'll call it luck. Let them. You'll know the truth. You'll realize that silence can be louder than applause. The quiet grind, the unposted effort, the discipline that never makes it to social media. That's where real success hides. Noise fades, substance lasts. When you stop fearing loneliness, you stop negotiating your worth. You no longer chase people to fill your void. You fill it with purpose. You become whole. And wholeness is what attracts what's meant for you. Being alone teaches you self-respect. You stop begging for attention, stop explaining your value, stop waiting to be chosen. You start realizing you were always the one meant to choose yourself. The more time you spend alone, the more you realize that solitude isn't isolation, it's incubation. Every empire begins with one person in silence, crafting their vision before the world believes it's possible. That's where you are now. So embrace the loneliness. Let it sharpen your edges and strengthen your spine, because one day soon, this solitude will be your origin story. The proof that when no one believed in you, you built yourself anyway. Alone is not your weakness. Alone is your beginning. Chapter 2. The silence that builds you. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of truth. It's the moment the world stops speaking so you can finally hear yourself. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront everything they've buried, their doubts, regrets, insecurities. But that's where growth begins. Not in noise, but in stillness. The silence that builds you doesn't come easy. It's the kind that exposes the chaos inside your head. When you're alone with your thoughts, there's nowhere to hide. You meet every version of yourself, the one you show the world and the one you've avoided. And that confrontation is where transformation starts. You can't fake silence. You can't rush it. It's uncomfortable, humbling, sometimes brutal. But within that discomfort lies revelation. The mind begins to reorder itself. The noise of insecurity fades, and clarity rises like dawn after a long night. When you sit in silence long enough, you start hearing the patterns, the same fears repeating, the same excuses echoing. It's in that awareness that you gain control, because what's recognized can be rewritten. You begin to shape your mind instead of being shaped by it. Silence rebuilds what distraction destroys. Every notification, every opinion, every piece of noise outside pulls you away from your inner compass. But when you cut the noise, your intuition wakes up. It begins guiding you again, quietly, confidently, like an old friend. The world glorifies loud ambition, the kind that announces every move. But true power doesn't broadcast. It builds in silence. It refines in solitude. The ones who rise the highest are the ones who learn to move quietly, letting results speak louder than words ever could. When you stop filling silence with constant consumption, something shifts. Your creativity returns, your focus sharpens, your energy stops leaking into distractions. What felt like boredom becomes awareness. What felt like emptiness becomes potential. Silence is where you meet discipline in its purest form. No audience, no applause, no external push, just you choosing to stay consistent anyway. Every silent decision compounds. Every quiet act of effort becomes a brick in your foundation. There's a reason the greatest minds, leaders, and warriors in history all valued solitude. They understood that silence sharpens vision. You can't hear your purpose if you're drowning in noise. Greatness doesn't shout, it listens. In silence, you learn emotional control. You stop reacting to every trigger. You start observing your emotions instead of being consumed by them. The gap between feeling and action widens, and that gap is where mastery begins. The more you embrace silence, the stronger your mind becomes. You stop fearing time alone. You start craving it. Because that quiet space becomes your power source, the one place where the world can't reach or shake you. Silence teaches patience, the kind that kills impulsiveness. You stop chasing every temporary thrill. You begin understanding that progress is subtle. Growth is invisible. Strength doesn't shout. It endures quietly, like roots under soil. When you spend enough time in silence, you start recognizing fake energy. The forced smiles, the empty conversations, the shallow noise, all of it loses its hold on you. You become selective with what you allow near your peace. Silence doesn't mean inaction, it means focused preparation. You move strategically, not loudly. You stop telling people what you're building and start showing them through consistency. The quiet grind always wins long after the noise burns out. There's a stage in your growth where silence feels lonely, and then, one day, it starts feeling sacred. You begin realizing that solitude isn't punishment, it's protection. The silence is keeping you safe while you evolve. You'll start noticing how silence repairs you. The more you disconnect from chaos, the more your mind starts organizing itself. Ideas come naturally, confidence returns, direction becomes clear. Noise blurs your path. Silence reveals it. Silence also exposes your resistance. Every time you sit in stillness, your mind will try to escape, to check something, to move, to scroll. But every time you resist that urge, you're rewiring your focus. You're proving to yourself that peace can coexist with discipline. The silence that builds you doesn't always feel peaceful. Sometimes it feels like breaking. Because to grow, the old version of you has to die quietly. The chaos leaves first, then the calm enters. It's the most beautiful pain you'll ever experience. Eventually, silence becomes your home. Not a retreat from the world, but a throne within it. You operate from calm while others drown in noise. You think clearer, act sharper, and move slower. Because now everything you do is intentional. And one day you'll realize the silence didn't just build you, it revealed you. It stripped away who you were pretending to be and left behind something rare, a mind that's calm, a spirit that's grounded, and a soul that's finally unshakable. Chapter 3. Stop explaining, start executing. There comes a point when words lose their weight. You've explained your dreams, your plans, your pain, and still nothing moves. That's when you realize the world doesn't respond to explanations. It responds to execution. Talking might give relief, but action gives results. Silence your speeches. Let movement become your language. The habit of explaining drains the fire from your focus. Every time you justify yourself, you hand away power. People don't need to understand you. They need to witness you. Stop defending your intentions. Start delivering evidence. Proof is louder than persuasion. Most never build anything because they're addicted to talking about it. They confuse momentum with conversation. Every word becomes a substitute for work. Break that pattern. Speak less. Move more. Execution is prayer in motion. You owe no one an explanation for your hunger. Let them call it obsession, arrogance, delusion. It doesn't matter. The quiet builder outlasts the loud doubter. What they call madness today, they'll label vision tomorrow. Explaining seeks approval. Execution creates authority. The moment you act, you shift from the realm of ideas to reality. Reality doesn't debate, it demonstrates. Stop trying to be understood. Start becoming undeniable. Your results will speak a language explanation never could. They'll silence questions, rewrite opinions, and make even your critics take notes. Don't fight with words, fight with progress. When you stop explaining, you stop leaking energy. Your time stops bleeding into validation. You begin to operate in stealth, moving like a storm, quiet until impact. Every step taken without announcement multiplies your strength. Execution simplifies life. You don't have to convince anyone, you just do the work. While others argue theory, you're already building evidence. The world eventually respects what it cannot ignore. Explaining is a comfort mechanism, an excuse wrapped in logic. You talk to delay action because talking feels like motion, but it's not. The only cure for doubt is doing. Every plan looks perfect in words, every dream sounds inspiring out loud. But execution reveals truth. It strips away fantasy and exposes what you're truly willing to endure. Only through doing do you meet your real self. You'll notice that people who demand explanations are usually the ones doing the least. Builders don't interrogate, they understand the cost. So when you stop explaining, you also stop surrounding yourself with spectators. Silence sharpens execution. When you move quietly, distractions fade. You're not reacting to opinions, you're refining your craft. The absence of noise becomes the amplifier of your results. The ones who rise don't justify, they deliver. They don't post blueprints, they produce buildings. They don't debate consistency, they live it. The difference between potential and proof is execution, and it's visible to everyone. Explaining invites judgment. Execution commands respect. People might doubt your words, but they can't deny your results. Every completed action adds weight to your presence until the same voices that questioned you start quoting you. Action is clarity. You don't need to overthink, overtalk, or overshare. Every step forward answers more questions than 1,000 explanations ever could. Movement is the antidote to overthinking. When you execute, you move from dreamer to doer, from seeker to creator. The shift is spiritual. You stop asking life for permission and start collaborating with it. Energy flows where motion begins. Silence isn't weakness, it's focus. The loudest builders are usually the least consistent. Those who work in quiet preserve energy for what matters. Creation. The more you move, the less you need to prove. Let your success be the conversation. Let your consistency be the speech. The day you stop explaining yourself and start executing relentlessly is the day your story starts to write itself. No one remembers the talkers. History only records the builders. Words fade into air. Execution carves itself into legacy. You don't need the world to understand your process, just to witness your result. And when it's done, when your silence has built something the world can no longer ignore, you'll look back and smile at how much time you once wasted explaining. Because now you'll know. Silence was never emptiness. It was preparation for greatness. Chapter 4. The Power of Self-Belief. When no one supports you, when no one believes in you, that's when belief becomes real. It's easy to have confidence when everyone claps. The challenge begins when the room goes quiet. That's where most people break. But you build. You learn to generate your own faith, not from applause, but from alignment. You become your own source of gravity. Self-belief isn't arrogance, it's awareness. It's seeing something within yourself before anyone else can comprehend it. The world will call it ego because it can't recognize early greatness. But belief isn't about convincing them, it's about convincing the voice inside that keeps doubting. No one can hand you belief. It's not taught, it's trained. It's the result of showing up when you're tired, committing when you're scared, and finishing when you feel forgotten. Every time you choose to trust your vision over their opinion, belief grows stronger roots. The absence of support is not a curse, it's clarity. It filters your environment, showing who's truly for you and who's just comfortable near you. When everyone leaves, all that remains is truth. And if that truth still whispers, "Keep going," that whisper is enough. Belief is rebellion. It's standing firm in a world built to make you doubt. Every advertisement, every critic, every failure whispers, "You can't." But belief answers back, "Watch me." The quiet defiance of a self-assured mind is stronger than any crowd's approval. When you believe in yourself, you stop begging for validation. You no longer chase eyes or opinions. The mirror becomes your mentor. You realize that the reflection looking back has been waiting for acknowledgement, not from the world, from you. Self-belief makes you unshakable because it replaces external anchors with internal ones. People may come and go, praise may rise and fade, but your conviction remains. You stop sinking every time someone withdraws their support. You've built your own foundation. The irony is that the less belief you receive from others, the more potent your own must become. Every dismissal, every doubt, every quiet insult becomes fuel. You learn to turn disbelief into discipline. Each rejection, a rep in your mental gym. Belief isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. True belief moves quietly, doing the work that disbelief mocks. It doesn't fight for attention. It commands it naturally. Real confidence doesn't talk. It radiates. When no one supports you, your vision becomes sacred. You guard it, protect it, and feed it carefully. Because belief, when nurtured in solitude, becomes unbreakable, a diamond formed under pressure, untouched by the noise of others. Most people abandon their dreams, not because they fail, but because they get tired of standing alone. Endure that loneliness, and you'll surpass everyone who needed company to move forward. Solitude is not a penalty. It's a privilege for the chosen few who can handle it. You'll find that the world doesn't reward belief instantly. It tests it. It pushes you, mocks you, exhausts you, until it's sure your faith is genuine. Only then does it begin to open doors, one by one, as if to say, "You've earned this." There's power in being underestimated. When no one expects much from you, every victory hits harder. You move in silence, and the world doesn't see you coming until it's too late to stop you. The element of surprise is the gift of solitude. Self-belief teaches you emotional independence. You no longer crumble under criticism or inflate under praise. You become steady, unbothered, unmoved, grounded, because your worth stopped depending on the wind of public opinion. You'll learn that you don't need to convince anyone. You just need to keep producing results. Eventually, consistency becomes your argument, progress your evidence. Time always sides with the one who keeps showing up. Belief builds momentum. Once you trust yourself, action follows effortlessly. Doubt hesitates. Belief accelerates. The more you act, the more faith compounds. It becomes a self-sustaining cycle. Belief creates action, and action reinforces belief. People who once doubted will eventually mirror your language. They'll call you lucky, talented, driven. They'll forget that luck never showed up, only persistence did. The noise of disbelief always fades in the presence of undeniable results. You don't owe explanations for your dreams, you owe yourself execution. The world doesn't have to agree with your vision, it just has to witness it when it manifests. That's the ultimate revenge. Quiet success born from relentless self-belief. Belief doesn't guarantee an easy path. It guarantees survival. You'll still face failure, fatigue, and fear, but you'll keep standing. Because belief doesn't remove the storm, it gives you the spine to walk through it. And one day, you'll look back at every night you doubted yourself and smile, because those nights were the reason you built this level of faith. The silence, the rejection, the loneliness, All of it was sculpting the only thing the world can never take from you, your unshakable belief in you. Chapter 5. Use pain as fuel. Pain is not the enemy. It's a signal. It's life whispering, pay attention. Every scar, every failure, every disappointment is feedback. It's showing you what needs strengthening, what needs release, and what needs rebirth. The weak run from pain. The strong study it. The wise transform it. When you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as instruction, everything changes. Pain becomes your coach, not your captor. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to refine you, to strip away illusion until only truth remains. Every time life hits you, it's handing you raw material. You can crumble under it or carve something from it. The difference between those who stay broken and those who rise lies in what they do with the hurt they've been handed. The mind wants comfort. The soul wants growth. That's why pain exists, to pull you toward expansion. Growth never comes from what feels good. It comes from what challenges you, stretches you, forces you to evolve. When you run from pain, you stay ordinary. When you embrace it, you become extraordinary. Because pain carries energy, and energy, when directed, becomes progress. The same fire that burns can forge. Pain is the most honest mirror. It shows you what you truly value, what you fear losing, and what still controls you. It exposes your attachments and reveals where your faith is fragile. That knowledge is power. Every successful person you admire has a history of heartbreak, rejection, failure, and loss. The difference is, they didn't waste their suffering. They mined it for meaning. They built from the ashes what comfort never could. You don't choose pain, but you can choose its purpose. Let it remind you what matters. Let it deepen your empathy. Let it sharpen your hunger. When you give pain a job, it stops being chaos and becomes construction. Pain teaches you patience. It slows you down long enough to notice details success hides. It humbles you, making you teachable again. The more you resist it, the louder it screams. The more you listen, the faster it releases. Stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" Pain isn't interested in fairness. It's interested in awakening. The question isn't whether you deserve it. It's whether you'll use it. Every setback carries a seed of advancement. The breakdown is part of the blueprint. You don't rebuild stronger by avoiding hurt. You rebuild stronger because of it. Resistance builds resilience. Struggle builds structure. Pain clears illusions. It reveals who really stands beside you, what truly drives you, and how much strength you've ignored. In the fire of suffering, masks melt and authenticity appears. The moments that broke you are the same ones that built your depth. Without them, you'd still be shallow, easily shaken. Pain deepens understanding. It turns emotion into wisdom and experience into strength. Transformation hurts because it requires death. The death of old habits, old expectations, old comfort. Pain is the midwife of rebirth. Every new version of you is born screaming through discomfort. When you stop blaming pain and start partnering with it, you gain control. Pain only owns those who resist it. The moment you accept it, you reclaim power. Acceptance doesn't mean surrender, it means strategy. Use pain as data. What triggers you shows what still controls you. What devastates you shows where healing must happen. Observe it, record it, learn from it. Pain is the purest form of feedback. You can turn pain into discipline. Let it remind you why you started. Let it keep you consistent when motivation fades. Every rep, every late night, every lonely morning, it's fuel extracted from frustration. Pain teaches humility. It reminds you that control is limited. You can prepare, plan, and push, but life will still surprise you. The goal isn't to eliminate pain, it's to become unbreakable within it. You'll realize pain is temporary, but the lessons it leaves are permanent. What feels unbearable today becomes your advantage tomorrow. Scars are just proof you survived what others couldn't. When everything hurts, focus on movement. Action dilutes agony. Channel emotion into creation. Write, train, build, express. Turn pressure into progress. Motion turns suffering into strength. Pain refines priorities. It teaches you what's real. After enough heartbreak, you stop chasing applause. After enough failure, you stop fearing opinions. You begin valuing peace over popularity. The deeper the pain, the sharper the purpose. Life uses suffering as a compass. It points you where growth is hiding. If it hurts, it matters. Follow it until it transforms. Use pain to sharpen your focus. Anger can be energy if refined. Sadness can be sensitivity if guided. Don't waste emotion, direct it. Every feeling, when disciplined, becomes a force. The strongest hearts are the ones that broke open and kept beating. Pain stretches empathy, softens judgment, and strengthens connection. The one who's suffered most often loves most purely. Don't let pain harden you. Let it heighten you. Bitterness wastes suffering. Resolve transforms it. Choose to rise, not in spite of pain, but because of it. Pain reveals truth about time. You can't rush healing. You can't fast-forward growth. You must endure the slow burn. But the patience you build there becomes the muscle that carries you through every future storm. Use the energy of disappointment as determination. Every no should make your yes louder. Every betrayal should make your boundaries wiser. Every failure should make your strategy sharper. Pain is not proof of weakness. It's proof you're still alive, still trying, still in the arena. The numb are the defeated. The hurting are the becoming. When you stop fearing pain, the world loses leverage over you. You become untouchable because nothing can be taken from a soul that can turn suffering into power. Pain burns illusions of control. Once they're gone, peace enters. You stop clinging to outcomes and start trusting endurance. Control was never strength. Adaptability is. Every time life cuts you, you have a choice. Bleed aimlessly or bleed intentionally. Channel that pain into something useful. Let your wounds water the seeds of your next chapter. Remember, every great transformation begins with discomfort. Pain is the sign you're moving beyond your limits. Don't retreat. Expand. Use pain to build perspective. The more you've endured, the less trivial noise affects you. Minor problems vanish in the presence of someone who's survived major storms. Pain disciplines emotion. It teaches you how to act without impulse, love without illusion, and lead without ego. That composure becomes your quiet power. Eventually, you'll thank the pain. You'll look back and realize it was the turning point, the unseen mentor that taught you self-respect, resilience, and depth no comfort ever could. Because pain, when used well, doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you real. It strips away what's fake, leaving only truth, grit, and grace. You stop pretending to be tough because you've already been tested. And one day, you'll see it clearly. Pain was never the enemy. It was the sculptor. Every cut was carving character, every loss was shaping legacy, and every wound was preparing you for the moment you'd finally rise, unbreakable, unstoppable, and free. Chapter 6. Discipline is the new support system. Discipline isn't about rules, it's about rescue. It's the structure that saves you when motivation dies. When no one checks on you, when no one claps, when life stops rewarding effort, discipline is what keeps you breathing purpose. It's the friend that never leaves, the coach that never softens, the quiet force that says, "Get up, again." You don't need support when you have standards. Discipline replaces the people who would have pushed you. It becomes your accountability partner, your mentor, your momentum. You stop waiting for someone to remind you who you are, because your habits already do. Motivation is emotional, discipline is logical. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline answers, "It doesn't matter." The most successful don't chase energy. They create systems that function even on empty. Every time you act without feeling ready, you strengthen discipline. It's like building muscle. Resistance creates growth. The days you feel uninspired are the days you're tested. Discipline turns those moments into milestones. The disciplined don't need applause. Their reward is progress. They don't seek hype. They seek results. Because discipline doesn't crave attention. It craves consistency. Quiet work beats loud excuses every single time. When you rely on motivation, you're a slave to mood. When you rely on discipline, you're free. You no longer wait for alignment, you create it. That's what separates the professional from the amateur, the unstoppable from the inconsistent. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It shields you from the chaos of your own emotions. It saves you from yourself, from the lazy version, the doubtful version, the easily distracted version. It's self-love in its most practical form. You'll learn that discipline isn't about intensity, it's about endurance. Anyone can start strong, few can stay consistent. The disciplined don't sprint, they sustain. They build rhythm instead of relying on rush. Every decision you make is a vote. Each act of discipline casts a vote for the future you want. Each indulgence casts a vote for the comfort you'll regret. Success isn't one big act. It's 1,000 disciplined micro-decisions stacked daily. Discipline feels heavy in the beginning, but eventually it carries you. It becomes lighter than regret. The weight of effort is always easier than the weight of guilt. Choose your burden wisely. When no one believes in you, discipline becomes your evidence. You don't argue with people. You outlast them. You keep showing up until the pattern of your consistency becomes impossible to deny. Discipline silences doubt. The moment you act, the noise fades. The brain stops spiraling because it has direction. That's the secret. Action quiets anxiety faster than reassurance ever could. Every time you stick to your word, even in private, you reinforce self-respect. The disciplined don't need validation because their trust in themselves is already unshakable. Every promise kept becomes another layer of confidence. People quit, not because they lack ambition, but because they lack systems. Emotion fails, structure doesn't. The ones who win aren't the most talented, they're the most organized under pressure. Discipline teaches emotional maturity. It forces you to show up without reward, to act without applause, to continue without comfort. That's adulthood in its purest form, doing what's required, not what's convenient. Your environment can inspire you, but it can't sustain you. Eventually, the external fades, and only your habits remain. The gym, the desk, the daily grind, those become your temple. Discipline is devotion disguised as repetition. The world respects consistency more than charisma. Charm fades, effort compounds. Discipline doesn't seek followers, it builds foundations. You can fake motivation, you can't fake showing up every day. You can't depend on anyone to save your dream. People have their own storms to survive. But discipline never leaves. It's the one companion that will walk with you through drought, doubt, and darkness. Every excuse you kill feeds your discipline. Every shortcut you reject strengthens your spine. Every time you choose structure over impulse, you're building invisible armor that will one day make you untouchable. When life feels chaotic, lean on your routine. It's the rope that pulls you back from overwhelm. Discipline doesn't just create success, it preserves sanity. Consistency gives your mind something solid to hold on to. Discipline transforms pain into power. Instead of running from struggle, you organize it. You channel your suffering into structure. The result is growth that feels clean, not chaotic. You'll realize discipline is not about perfection, it's about direction. Missing a day doesn't matter, quitting does. Discipline forgives failure, but never tolerates surrender. It's flexible, not fragile. Those who wait for motivation waste their lives in neutral. Those who build discipline drive even in storms. The engine may sputter, but it never stops. That's what makes progress inevitable. Discipline isn't about feeling powerful. It's about acting with precision when you feel powerless. That's the moment you're tested. That's the moment that builds a reputation no one can take from you. You can't master life until you master your mornings. Discipline begins in the first decision of the day, the alarm, the workout, the work. Every small victory before sunrise rewires your brain for control. The disciplined treat time as currency. They don't spend it, they invest it. Every hour has intention, every minute has purpose. Chaos drains, structure compounds. Discipline means doing what's necessary even when it's unnoticed. The quiet days, the unseen effort, those are the bricks that hold your future together. The loud moments are built on silent labor. People chase balance, but discipline gives it. You don't balance by doing less, you balance by doing what matters. Discipline filters the noise until only purpose remains. When you lack support, your routine becomes your mentor. Each repetition whispers wisdom. This is who you are now. Discipline doesn't just change results, it changes identity. Every disciplined person was once a scattered mess who decided to stop negotiating with weakness. They didn't find strength, they built it, brick by brick, through ritual and repetition. Discipline breeds focus. The more structured your days become, the clearer your mind gets. You stop chasing stimulation and start mastering stillness. Simplicity becomes your advantage. Discipline gives peace a framework. It's not about hustle, it's about harmony. You move with calm precision, knowing exactly when to push, when to rest, when to recalibrate. When discipline becomes habit, success becomes predictable. You no longer wonder if you'll win, only when. Because discipline makes results a matter of time, not talent. The truth is, you'll outlast everyone who relies on hype. You'll be working while they're distracted, progressing while they're resting, evolving while they're explaining. Discipline doesn't shout, it endures. Even in heartbreak, loss or failure, discipline keeps you grounded. It gives pain direction. You stop drowning in emotion and start swimming with purpose. Pain becomes propulsion. And when the world finally notices, they'll call you lucky, gifted, relentless. But you'll know the truth. It was never luck. It was discipline, showing up every day when no one else did, proving again and again that commitment is the real support system. Discipline is the proof of self-respect. It's how you show your future that you're serious. You don't build confidence from compliments. You build it from consistency. Every time you follow through, even in silence, you're telling your soul, I can trust me. When you rely on emotion, you're inconsistent. When you rely on structure, you're unstoppable. Emotion fluctuates, systems stabilize. The disciplined person doesn't need perfect circumstances. They just need a plan and enough grit to follow it. The world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. Discipline bridges that gap. It's the difference between I could and I did. Without it, potential rots into regret. With it, even small actions become unstoppable momentum. Discipline is the opposite of comfort. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. It's not here to pamper you. It's here to prepare you. Every repetition in discomfort becomes armor for the next storm. Most people fail not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack order. Chaos kills dreams faster than failure. The disciplined create order daily through rituals, routines, and ruthless priorities. You'll realize discipline has nothing to do with perfection. It's about direction. Every step forward, no matter how imperfect, compounds into progress. Discipline doesn't demand flawlessness. It demands follow-through. Excuses are seductive because they sound reasonable. Discipline kills them. It replaces "I can't" with "I will anyway." It turns resistance into rhythm, turning hesitation into habit. Discipline is silent confidence. You stop announcing your goals because your work announces itself. The world doesn't need your promises. It needs your proof. Every system you build saves you from a future breakdown. Morning routines, training schedules, focused work blocks. These aren't restrictions, they're reinforcements. The disciplined don't live smaller lives, they live clearer ones. When you're disciplined, you no longer depend on momentum. You manufacture it. You don't wait to feel ready. You start, and readiness follows. That's the secret of all high performers. They act first and feel later. Discipline keeps your identity stable while the world shifts. It's the anchor that keeps you calm when everything else shakes. Without it, every change becomes chaos. With it, every storm becomes training. The disciplined don't chase goals. They build systems that make success inevitable. They understand that habits are stronger than hope, that structure beats willpower, and that the process is the product. Discipline transforms ordinary actions into sacred rituals. It makes brushing your teeth a form of self-respect, working out a declaration of worth, and showing up to your craft an act of worship. When you live by discipline, you no longer crave validation. You validate yourself every morning by honoring your routine. The applause you once wanted becomes unnecessary because you already know what you're made of. Every act of discipline is a form of faith. You move before results appear. You act without proof. You trust the process more than the moment. That's belief at its purest. Discipline eliminates negotiation. You don't ask, "Should I do this?" You do it because it's written into your character. Decision fatigue disappears when commitment becomes identity. The disciplined live free from chaos because they've learned to schedule their battles. They decide when to struggle, when to rest, and when to rebuild. That predictability gives peace in a world obsessed with distraction. The greatest gift discipline gives you is self-trust. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop doubting your own word. When you know you'll follow through, fear loses its leverage. You can't build discipline in comfort. You build it in resistance. Every time you push through fatigue, delay gratification, or reject distraction, you're laying bricks of resilience. Comfort never forged anyone worth remembering. The truth is, discipline and freedom are the same thing. The undisciplined are slaves to emotion. The disciplined move with autonomy. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's having the strength to do what's necessary. Your habits are your true support system. Friends may flake, mentors may disappear, motivation may fade, but habits stay. The system you build becomes your shield against the unpredictable. Discipline makes you emotionally bulletproof. When you know your actions are in order, criticism can't shake you. You don't need approval when your track record speaks louder than opinion. Every morning you rise early, every night you show up tired but consistent. Those are invisible victories. The world may never see them, but your future self will thank you for every silent win. The disciplined person moves with calm aggression. They're not frantic, they're focused. They know exactly where their energy belongs, and they refuse to waste it anywhere else. Discipline replaces hope with control. You stop wishing and start engineering. Dreams are built brick by brick, not wish by wish. You'll notice that discipline begins to bleed into everything: how you eat, think, speak, spend, and rest. It's not just a behavior, it's a philosophy. Every part of your life starts to mirror precision. When discipline becomes habit, mediocrity becomes impossible. You physically can't underperform because your standards have been automated. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your system. Discipline rewires identity. You stop identifying as someone who tries and become someone who executes. Once that shift happens, failure stops feeling fatal. It becomes feedback. There's no shortcut to discipline, there's only daily proof. Each day is a test. Some days you win, some days you wrestle, but you never walk away. Consistency over time outperforms intensity every time. The disciplined aren't fearless, they're reliable. They feel doubt, boredom, and exhaustion like everyone else, but they don't obey them. They keep moving anyway. That's what makes them rare. When life feels chaotic, go back to your rituals. Wake up, move your body, do your work. Routine is the rope that pulls you out of emotional quicksand. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't demand motivation. It builds it through repetition. You train your brain to trust process more than passion. The moment you start treating discipline as self-care, everything changes. You realize it's not about control. It's about compassion. You deserve the version of yourself that keeps promises, not breaks them. Discipline is a quiet love story between effort and time. The longer they stay together, the more beautiful the results. The world may not notice today, but time always rewards loyalty. Eventually, discipline becomes art. Your routine becomes rhythm. Your schedule becomes symphony. Every action feels deliberate, every decision composed. That's mastery, not perfection, but precision. And one day, you'll realize you no longer need external support because you've become your own. Discipline turned you into the system, the structure, and the standard. You've built a life that sustains itself. When that happens, you won't crave applause or praise. You'll feel peace, the kind that comes from knowing your effort no longer depends on mood, people, or circumstance. You've become unstoppable because you've built reliability into your nature, and that's the truth. Discipline was never a burden. It was freedom disguised as responsibility. The moment you embrace that truth, you stop waiting for strength and start living as it. Chapter 7. The road is lonely, but worth it. The road to greatness is quiet. It's long, empty, and often misunderstood. You'll walk stretches where no one calls, no one texts, and no one seems to care that you're still trying. That's not failure. That's the refining stage. The silence around you isn't abandonment, it's preparation. Most people quit because they mistake solitude for failure. They think silence means the world has forgotten them, when in truth, silence is the sound of separation. The gap between average and exceptional widening beneath their feet. You'll lose people when you start growing. The ones who are comfortable with your old self won't recognize your new one. Don't chase them. Growth always demands isolation before it gives recognition. Loneliness on this road is the tax of transformation. You pay with your comfort so that your future can be rich with peace, clarity, and mastery. Every lonely night is a down payment on self-respect. The road is lonely because it's narrow. Not everyone is built for it. Most prefer the crowd, safety and mediocrity. But you've chosen the path that doesn't echo with applause. You've chosen the road where your only companion is purpose. At first, the silence feels heavy. It feels like rejection. But over time, it becomes sacred. You start hearing your own rhythm, your own breathing, your own drive, and you realize that this silence isn't empty. It's alive with potential. The loneliest walks lead to the most meaningful destinations. That's why you can't skip them. If the road were crowded, the victory wouldn't mean as much. Scarcity makes it sacred. You'll learn that loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of understanding. Even surrounded by others, you'll feel unseen if you're building something they can't yet comprehend. Don't explain it. Build it until they see it. You'll outgrow conversations, circles, and comfort zones. It won't feel like betrayal. It'll feel like evolution. You're not leaving people behind. You're leaving old versions of yourself that no longer serve your vision. The road tests you quietly. It doesn't announce progress. You'll walk miles with no visible reward. But that's the secret. Growth hides in the unseen. You're becoming someone even when nothing seems to be happening. On lonely roads, self-doubt becomes loud. You'll question everything, your path, your timing, your worth. But doubt isn't a stop sign, it's a checkpoint. It's asking, how bad do you want this? Every person who ever achieved something timeless walked this same road. They cried, they failed, they questioned everything, but they kept moving. Because they understood. Loneliness isn't the end. It's the evidence you're evolving. People won't understand why you choose struggle over comfort, why you keep showing up with no audience. They'll call it obsession, but you'll know it's devotion. You're not chasing approval. You're chasing alignment. The road will break your ego first. It'll strip away every illusion that you need to be liked, validated, or seen. Only then will you find the quiet power that comes from walking alone, the kind that doesn't beg, it builds. You'll start noticing peace in the distance, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. It arrives when you stop fighting the solitude and start flowing with it. The loneliness that once felt unbearable becomes your meditation. The lonely road builds self-awareness. When no one's around to distract you, your flaws surface, your strengths sharpen, and your patterns reveal themselves. It's not punishment, it's progress disguised as discomfort. The road is lonely because mastery requires separation. To create differently, you must think differently. To think differently, you must detach from the noise. The further you go, the quieter it gets, and that quiet is where vision lives. Every mile without company teaches endurance. It's you versus your excuses. You'll want to stop, to turn around, to find company, but deep down, you know that no one can walk this part for you. It's your burden, and it's beautiful. Loneliness turns into focus. When there's no one to impress, you stop performing. You move from seeking validation to seeking results. The noise fades, and for the first time, you can hear what your purpose actually sounds like. You'll learn to celebrate small victories privately, not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the need for recognition. The lonely road rewards those who can clap for themselves in silence. The longer you walk alone, the clearer your standards become. You stop tolerating mediocrity, not out of pride, but out of respect for what you're building. Solitude makes you selective, not superior. Loneliness teaches you emotional control. You learn not to panic in silence, not to chase in absence, not to crumble in stillness. You learn to sit with emptiness until it becomes peace. The road feels endless at times. You'll see no light, no progress, no signs of arrival. But those who endure long enough discover something profound. The destination was never a place. It was the person they became while walking. You'll learn that not everyone who starts with you can finish with you. Some will drift away, some will stop, and some will mock the pace you've chosen. Keep walking anyway. You're not proving them wrong. You're proving yourself right. Isolation refines focus. Without distractions, your purpose sharpens. The energy that once leaked into arguments, explanations, and validation gets redirected into creation. You stop bleeding potential. There's peace in realizing that not everyone is meant to understand your season. Some roads are meant to be walked in silence because the lessons they hold can't be explained. They can only be experienced. You'll start to prefer solitude over company because solitude doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter you, doesn't judge you, doesn't drain you. It reflects you. And in that reflection, you meet truth, your most honest teacher. The lonely road builds unshakable faith. You start believing in something bigger than comfort, in purpose, in calling, in destiny. Faith becomes your travel partner when no one else remains. Every lonely night builds emotional calluses. You stop needing constant reassurance. You learn that survival is not about strength. It's about staying when everything in you wants to quit. The road strips you of excuses. You can't blame anyone when you're alone. That's where ownership is born. You stop pointing fingers and start building solutions. Responsibility becomes your power source. Loneliness doesn't make you weaker. It reveals how strong you were all along. You realize you were never actually alone. You just hadn't yet met the version of yourself that could stand alone. The road is lonely because it's sacred. You're walking through your own evolution. No one can carry you through it. They'd only slow you down. This pain is personal, this growth exclusive. When you walk long enough, you find others like you. Not crowds, but kindred spirits. People who understand the silence because they've walked through their own. Connection becomes real again because it's born from authenticity, not need. The lonely road rewards patience. It doesn't give quick wins, it gives permanent ones. You learn that slow success is stronger than instant approval. What's built in silence stands longer than what's built for attention. You'll see people give up right before the miracle, the final stretch where the reward hides behind exhaustion. Don't join them. Keep walking. The difference between almost and arrived is a few more lonely steps. You'll look back one day and realize the solitude that once scared you became your sanctuary. The nights you cried in silence became your training ground. The loneliness you once cursed became your crown. And when you finally arrive, you won't crave applause, you'll crave peace, because the road that broke you also built you. The loneliness that tested you also freed you. You'll smile quietly, knowing it was all worth it. Because in the end, the road was never empty. It was full of everything you needed to become who you were meant to be. Every step you take alone adds another layer of armor. At first, it feels heavy, like walking with weight on your chest. But then you realize that the pressure is shaping you. You start moving smoother, quieter, wiser. Every mile without applause polishes the edges of your patience. When you stop seeking company on the climb, your senses sharpen. You start seeing what others miss. Tiny signs of progress, faint shifts in energy. The noise of the world fades, replaced by the rhythm of your own breath. You realize that silence isn't emptiness, it's focus. Loneliness becomes mentorship. It teaches you the laws of discipline, the art of patience, the value of reflection. You begin to understand that isolation was never meant to punish. It was meant to prepare you for higher altitudes, where only self-reliance can breathe. Some days you'll hate the quiet. You'll crave voices, laughter, distraction. But when you sit still long enough, you'll notice something. Peace returning. The same silence that once felt unbearable starts feeling like oxygen. You begin to move differently. Your pace slows, but your depth increases. You stop sprinting for validation and start walking for vision. The lonely road turns from exile into training ground. Eventually, the weight of solitude becomes strength. You no longer crumble under silence, you command it. You walk into empty rooms and fill them with presence. You speak less, but when you do, people listen, because calm has gravity. The lonely road rewires your priorities. You stop chasing attention and start chasing alignment. You learn that solitude isn't about escaping people, it's about meeting purpose without interference. There's a moment on this path where loneliness and peace look identical. That's when you realize the difference was never external, it was internal. What once felt like absence now feels like control. The further you walk, the less you need. Minimalism becomes medicine. fewer distractions, fewer dependencies, fewer expectations. You stop collecting things that don't multiply your focus. The lonely path turns noise into signal. You start hearing the small voice of intuition, the one that was always there, buried under other people's opinions. It begins guiding you with precision that no mentor ever could. You'll face days of doubt so thick it feels like fog. But keep moving. Fog doesn't stop the mountain from existing, it just hides it for a while. Discipline is how you walk when visibility is gone. You begin recognizing temporary people for what they are, lessons, not losses. The road teaches you detachment without bitterness. Everyone plays their part, and when their scene ends, you keep walking. There's strength in becoming self-contained. You stop leaking energy into explanation, justification, and reaction. Your boundaries solidify, and suddenly, solitude feels like power, not punishment. As you keep walking, you start meeting clarity in new forms, through failure, through fatigue, through stillness. Every challenge becomes a mirror reflecting how far you've come. The road teaches compassion. Once you've known isolation, you stop judging others for their weakness. You understand the weight of being alone and learn to extend grace without losing your edge. Pain on this road becomes predictable, not because it's easy, but because you've stopped fearing it. Pain is no longer surprise, it's signal. It tells you you're stretching past yesterday's limits. You begin craving the very quiet you once ran from. You start turning down invitations that interrupt your flow. Loneliness becomes lifestyle, and within it you find creative electricity that crowds could never provide. Every lonely walk sharpens authenticity. Without audiences, you can't perform. You speak your truth without editing it for acceptance. That raw honesty becomes the root of your real power. The road teaches you that success built alone hits differently. It's not just accomplishment, it's closure. You prove to yourself that you never needed saving. You needed structure. Sometimes the silence will echo with memories. People who left, plans that failed, moments that hurt. Let them echo. The noise eventually fades, leaving behind wisdom carved from endurance. On lonely paths, you stop confusing movement with meaning. You learn to pause without guilt. Stillness becomes strategy. The absence of motion doesn't mean stagnation, it means recalibration. You start realizing how little validation is worth. Compliments lose flavor, criticism loses sting. The only feedback that matters now is the quiet satisfaction after a day well executed. Discomfort stops intimidating you. It becomes familiar, almost friendly. Every difficult morning feels like an old training partner, rough but reliable. When the world feels far away, your purpose feels close. You stop begging the world to understand your pace. You understand that peace doesn't need explanation. It just needs consistency. The lonely road reveals endurance you didn't know existed. You learn that tired doesn't mean done. It means recalibrate, refocus, resume. The finish line moves, but so do you. There's beauty in invisible progress. You stop demanding immediate results and start respecting invisible compounding. Each quiet effort is a deposit in the bank of mastery. You'll notice how self-control replaces self-pity. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you start asking, "What now?" That single shift changes the entire landscape of your mindset. The road shows you that isolation and independence aren't the same. Isolation happens to you. Independence is chosen. Once you choose it, the loneliness fades and leadership begins. You start to sense who's genuine before they speak. The lonely road trains intuition better than any book. You can feel authenticity the way a soldier senses danger. Instantly, instinctively. You begin loving simplicity. One goal, one mission, one pace. Complexity collapses. Focus takes the throne. You discover that a life of fewer distractions carries more meaning. Each mile adds depth. You stop measuring time by days and start measuring it by growth. Every week alone feels like a chapter in self-education. Eventually, the horizon changes. What once felt distant begins to shimmer closer. You realize you're not lost. You were just in transit, walking the kind of path that can only be traveled slowly. The road teaches spiritual calm. You stop needing to control outcomes. You start trusting timing. Faith replaces force. Patience replaces panic. You'll feel gratitude sneak in, for the struggle, for the silence, for the distance. Gratitude turns exhaustion into endurance. Suddenly, even hardship feels holy. When you look back, you'll see how far you've walked without witnesses. That realization will humble you. You'll realize greatness doesn't need an audience. It needs perseverance. And one day, when you finally reach the place that once felt impossible, you'll notice something subtle. The loneliness has transformed into solitude, and solitude into serenity. You didn't escape it. You evolved within it. You'll smile quietly, not because the road ended, but because it became home. You'll know now, it was always worth it. Every step, every silence, every night of doubt was building something sacred. You. Chapter 8. Keep moving forward alone. Until you don't have to. There comes a moment when walking alone stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like power. You've been tempered by silence, refined by struggle, and forged by consistency. You no longer chase company, you attract alignment. You've learned to keep walking, not because someone's watching, but because you've built motion into your nature. The hardest miles are always the ones right before the breakthrough. When you're exhausted, unseen, and unsure, the mind whispers lies. Stop. You've done enough, but you haven't. You're inches away from the version of you that never quits. Keep walking, quietly, stubbornly, faithfully. At some point, the discipline becomes instinct. You stop needing reminders. You stop counting the days. The work itself becomes its own reward. You don't walk to reach the end anymore. You walk because moving forward is who you are now. You'll notice that life begins to open again. The same solitude that once felt like exile becomes your strength. And that strength draws the right people toward you. Not those who pity your grind, but those who respect it. The kind who walk their own roads in silence. Keep moving, even when it feels meaningless, even when no one claps. Momentum compounds in the shadows. Every small step adds up, even when results stay hidden. The universe rewards movement, not noise. When you've walked long enough alone, you start meeting mirrors disguised as people, those who reflect your same resilience, your same hunger, your same scars. You'll recognize them instantly, not through words, but through their calm eyes and quiet confidence. These are your real allies, not the ones who appear when it's easy, but the ones who understand what it costs to keep going. You won't need to explain your silence to them. They've lived it too. And together, you'll realize you were never truly alone. Progress doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like showing up tired. Sometimes it looks like keeping promises no one else will ever see. But those invisible victories are the bricks that build your legacy. Keep walking through the doubt. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the toll you pay for greatness. Doubt visits every traveler on the road of self-transformation. The difference is, you've learned not to stop for it. You'll reach a point where you stop obsessing over how far you've come and start focusing on how much you've grown. Distance is measured in miles, but evolution is measured in depth. You're not just moving forward, you're becoming deeper, sharper, wiser. The loneliness begins to change texture. It softens, it becomes familiar, even kind. It no longer drains you, it grounds you. You realize solitude isn't empty. It's full of everything you once ignored. The more you walk, the more gratitude becomes your fuel. You stop resenting the struggle because it built the structure you now stand on. Every hardship added weight to your backbone, not your baggage. You'll notice the rhythm of your life stabilizing. Chaos fades and clarity replaces it. You're no longer running from who you were. You're walking toward who you're meant to be. That shift changes everything. When the road gets darker, remember, it's not ending, it's deepening. Growth doesn't announce itself with light. It arrives quietly in the moments you endure without reward. Keep walking. You're building invisible strength. You've carried yourself farther than most people ever will. The fact that you're still standing is proof that you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. The road didn't break you. It built you into someone unshakable. There will be days you feel forgotten. Those are the days you must remember why you started. You didn't choose this path for recognition. You chose it for transformation. The world may not see your progress, but the mirror will. Keep walking because motion heals. Stillness is where fear multiplies. Movement is where courage breathes. Even a slow step forward is a rebellion against stagnation. You'll start to sense something subtle. Life walking with you. Opportunities appearing. Synchronicities aligning. The universe only moves for those who move first. That's not magic, it's cause and effect. The people who left will cross your mind. Let them. They were part of the chapter that taught you endurance. Not everyone is meant to stay for the entire story. Some were just lessons wearing faces. When you move alone for long enough, you stop expecting rescue. You start understanding that your power was never missing. It was just buried under dependence. Independence unearthed it. You begin realizing how rare persistence is. Most stop when it hurts. You kept going through pain, through fatigue, through silence. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you inevitable. The road rewards patience, not perfection. The ones who rush burn out. The ones who pace themselves finish. Longevity is the real flex. Staying power beats fast starts every time. Keep your head down and your heart steady. The road doesn't need your noise, it needs your endurance. The loudest workers fade, the consistent ones compound. One day you'll wake up and realize the climb no longer feels uphill. The same effort that once drained you now flows naturally. You didn't make the road easier, you made yourself stronger. When you finally meet people walking the same way, you won't attach out of need. You'll align out of respect. You won't lean on them for strength. You'll share it. That's the difference between dependency and connection. Keep walking until your silence speaks louder than their criticism, until your progress drowns out their doubt, until the world looks up and realizes you didn't vanish, you evolved. Every time you think about quitting, picture your future self watching you. They're waiting. They're built on the choices you make today. Don't abandon them halfway. Even when everything slows down, when time, growth, results, remember, stillness isn't death. It's incubation. Progress breathes in silence too. Eventually, your consistency attracts recognition. Not because you asked for it, but because excellence can't stay hidden forever. What's built in solitude eventually demands an audience. You'll realize you were never walking alone. You were walking ahead. People couldn't follow because they hadn't found the courage to start yet. You were the example they didn't know they needed, and when they finally catch up, you'll welcome them, not with arrogance, but with empathy. You'll understand what it takes to walk the road alone, and you'll help others walk theirs without losing themselves. The road never truly ends, it transforms. Once you master walking alone, you learn how to walk with others without losing your direction. That's leadership, guiding without controlling, supporting without saving. The irony is, when you finally stop needing people, that's when the right ones appear. Not out of pity, but out of alignment. You don't meet them by chance. you meet them by evolution. You'll look back and smile at the lonely nights that once broke you. They were rehearsals for resilience. They taught you how to hold yourself when no one else did. One day, you'll realize the road was never about reaching a destination. It was about becoming the traveler. You didn't just find strength, you embodied it. And when someone asks how you did it, you'll simply say, I kept walking. Through silence, through pain, through doubt, until I didn't have to walk alone anymore. Because that's the truth. The road is lonely at first, but not forever. Eventually, you find your people, but by then you no longer need them to move. You choose them to grow. Every day you keep walking alone, you're building proof, not for the world, but for yourself. You're proving that consistency is stronger than comfort, that faith is louder than fear, and that no one's absence can slow a soul committed to becoming more. Each morning you rise, you rewrite the definition of resilience. There's a peace that comes when you stop chasing validation. You no longer need the world to notice, because you've noticed yourself. Every quiet sunrise feels like applause from the universe whispering, you didn't give up. And that's all the recognition you'll ever need. The further you go, the smaller your circle becomes, but the stronger your focus gets. You stop confusing company with connection. You learn that solitude doesn't mean loneliness. It means loyalty to your purpose. You'll look around and realize that the people who once doubted you have fallen silent. Not because they finally understand, but because they can't keep up. They can't comprehend the consistency of someone who no longer waits for permission. The road ahead still holds storms, but they no longer scare you. You've already learned how to walk through rain without losing your direction. You stop asking for sunny days and start trusting your endurance. Momentum becomes your mentor. Each step teaches you something new: patience, endurance, emotional control. You realize that walking alone has made you fluent in a language most people never learn, the language of discipline. You'll catch yourself smiling at challenges that once terrified you, not out of arrogance, but because you've learned to read them differently. What others call obstacles, you now see as instructions. The road sharpens your vision. You stop seeing life as random events and start recognizing patterns, how effort attracts opportunity, how consistency creates timing, how stillness reveals direction. Nothing feels accidental anymore. When you walk long enough, you start to love the simplicity of the grind, the quiet routines, the small daily wins, the steady rhythm of repetition. They become sacred. You find beauty not in drama, but in discipline. You begin to understand that growth is rarely glamorous. It's not loud. It's built in rooms where no one claps. But that's exactly why it lasts. Because it's rooted in reality, not recognition. Every time you feel like stopping, remember how far you've walked without help. The same strength that carried you through silence will carry you through doubt. Your resilience isn't new, it's practiced. Keep moving when your mind whispers, it's pointless. That's the voice of fatigue, not truth. The truth is, you're building something too heavy for the weak to lift. A life of purpose, built entirely by persistence. The road becomes a teacher that never speaks, but always corrects. It humbles arrogance, rewards patience, and disciplines laziness. Those who respect its silence grow. Those who resist it stay stuck. You'll realize that your journey was never meant to be shared with everyone. Some paths require solitude, so you can hear the sound of your own conviction. The more you walk, the more sacred your silence becomes. At times, you'll feel invisible, but that invisibility is your advantage. No one can destroy what they can't see. You're building in the dark, away from distractions, safe from interference. You'll start recognizing how precious energy is. Every step teaches you where to invest it, not in noise, not in conflict, but in consistency. You realize attention is currency, and you refuse to spend it cheaply. Keep walking, even when no one believes in you. especially then, because the disbelief of others is a mirror reflecting their limits, not yours. Let their doubt be the background music to your progress. Eventually, the road rewards your loyalty. Doors open quietly. Opportunities appear naturally. You don't chase, you attract, because consistency has given you gravity. The version of you that started this journey would be proud of the person you've become. You've carried pain, silence, rejection, and fear, and turned them all into power. That's not luck, that's labor. When exhaustion hits, remember, fatigue is proof of effort, not failure. The road was never supposed to be easy. It was supposed to be earned. The pain in your feet is the price of progress. You'll meet moments of temptation, chances to quit, shortcuts that sparkle, but you'll pass them by because you've learned that shortcuts cheat growth. The road may be long, but it builds what speed destroys: character. Sometimes progress feels like repetition. That's because mastery looks boring from the outside. You're not stuck, you're sculpting. Every repeated action is another cut toward precision. You'll realize that consistency isn't sexy, it's sacred. The world chases trends, but you've built rhythm. You're not chasing the next thing, you're mastering this thing. That's how empires are built. Keep moving forward, even when no one notices. Every invisible day builds visible results. You're stacking quiet victories while the world scrolls for distractions. The road will always test your patience right before it rewards your persistence. It delays not to punish, but to prepare. When you finally receive what you've worked for, you'll be ready to carry it without collapsing. You'll stop craving arrival and start enjoying alignment. You'll realize that peace doesn't live at the destination. It lives in direction. Every step forward is already success. There's a strength that comes from repetition, the kind that doesn't make noise but moves mountains. The longer you stay consistent, the more unstoppable you become. You're not lucky, you're loyal to your craft. When you walk alone for too long, you start walking within. You begin exploring your own thoughts, fears, and limits. That inner journey is the real expedition, and every step deeper reveals new power. You'll find that self-trust is the true reward of walking alone. It's not money, it's not recognition, it's knowing that when everything collapses, you can rebuild from scratch, because you've done it before. The road doesn't get easier, you just stop resisting it. You stop asking for comfort and start craving growth. You start understanding that struggle isn't your enemy, it's your edge. You'll stop being afraid of slow progress. Slow means sustainable. The impatient quit halfway. The steady arrive with strength left to keep going. Consistency is the real luxury in a distracted world. The longer you walk, the more you outgrow noise. Gossip, opinions, trends, they lose flavor. You've developed a taste for silence and a hunger for peace. You'll notice your confidence becoming quieter. It no longer needs to announce itself. It just radiates. People will feel your energy before you ever speak. That's the power of grounded growth. When you finally meet others who've walked their own lonely roads, the connection will be effortless. No small talk, no masks, just mutual respect built from shared endurance. You'll look back and see how every lonely mile mattered. Every tear, every doubt, every rejection, each one had a lesson hidden inside it. The pain was never wasted. The destination stops mattering. The road itself becomes the reward, because it gave you what comfort never could: self-mastery, peace, and unshakable purpose. And when you finally reach the summit, you won't scream in victory. You'll stand in silence, smiling, because you'll know it wasn't the world that changed. It was you. Because that's the real secret. The road was never about getting somewhere. It was about becoming someone unbreakable. You didn't just survive walking alone. You learned how to move through life without losing yourself. You started this journey searching for strength. and maybe a part of you still wishes someone would show up to guide you. But by now, you've learned the truth. The person you've been waiting for was always you. When no one believes in you, you become your own source of faith. When no one claps for you, you become your own applause. When no one pushes you, you learn to move anyway. And that's what separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. You don't need to be seen to become great. You don't need permission to move forward. Every time you show up alone, you're training your mind to become bulletproof. Remember this, every master, every legend, every success story began with one person who refused to stop just because they were alone. So keep walking, keep building, keep believing, even when no one else does. Because one day, the same people who ignored you will look up and say, "I always knew you'd make it." And you'll smile, because you'll know the truth. You didn't need them then, and you don't need them now. You had yourself all along.